verbal or life.
Another Trump assassination attempt. We up to number 3. This time was a car bomb that they actually put, and I think it was in New York. So it's starting to look more and more suspicious. In this video, let's take a look at Jesse Primetime talking about the second assassination attempt and how it's looking bad for the government that this is happening. Unprecedented time, but welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, battling MS over here, giving you guys the news and hopefully keep you guys informed of what's going on. Let's take a look.
Fox News alert, it's been 48 hours since Trump was nearly assassinated again. And tonight, we still don't have any answers. How did an assassin with a scoped rifle get within 300 yards of the former president just weeks after Butler? Why wasn't the club's perimeter secured ahead of time? The Secret Service was aware of the opening in the shrubbery, so why didn't they address it? Why wasn't an agent stationed there before the round? Homeland Security has 80,000 armed agents, more than any other department. Where were they? Mayorkas oversees the Secret Service. Why the Disappearing Act? And how'd the shooter know exactly where to be if this was an unannounced foursome?
I am reaching the point of total outrage because the response from the Department of Homeland Security has been totally lacking. In fact, I think it's tantamount to stonewalling in many respects. If necessary, I'll certainly support a subpoena.
So the first case is full of dozens of errors, most of them human errors, and someone needs to take responsibility for that. And I don't think they have had adequately.
Ultra MK, like now conspiracy theories are coming out at left field. More and more people are just coming out with conspiracy theory because of this.
The Secret Service has not accepted responsibility yet for these failures. If a guy can hang out for 10 hours with a semi-automatic rifle, 100 yards from where the president's playing golf, that's a problem.
The Biden-Harris administration wants you to keep your nose out of their business. Former federal prosecutor Andy McCarthy says the feds are waging a prosecutorial turf war with the state of Florida to keep total control of the case. Why? Because Biden has his fingerprints all over this.
The former president's protective apparatus allowed for the early identification of the threat and led to a safe evacuation. The increased assets directed by President Biden were in place yesterday.
That's the Secret Service director admitting that President Biden is personally involved in Trump's security detail. Joe Biden, the man who can't protect our border, has gotten personally involved in protecting Donald Trump. Biden's directing which assets Trump's allowed to have and not allowed to have. The same guy who raided Trump's house is in charge of protecting his life. The same guy who calls him a threat is in charge of protecting him from threats. And Trump's been shot twice, almost twice. If Joe Biden really wanted to provide Donald Trump with proper security, he would. But after 2 assassination attempts, there's still gaping holes. The Biden White House still labels him a threat. I guess it all makes sense. Why would you protect a man you consider a threat?
Every leader, national leader, or any leader in this country should be calling out political violence and bringing the country together, not dividing it.
Just to be clear, just to clarify, so you're saying that the president and vice president believe that former President Donald Trump should be toning down his rhetoric?
So I'll say this. President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy. He's been clear.
What? You calling the president a threat? Are you serious? People are watching this and saying, I'm going to go take care of this man. So it's just making it making it worse for Trump.
About that.
After repeatedly being called a wannabe dictator, a threat to democracy who needs to be eliminated, the former president of the United States has survived 2 consecutive assassination attempts, and his political rival, who is now taking a personal role in his security detail, continues to call him a threat.
It's been only 2 days since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat.
Good question.
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it.
They're putting a target on Donald Trump's back and saying Fox asking questions about it's dangerous. Who's threatening who here? It's dangerous to ask questions in America now. When did this country become like this? A hardcore Democrat with a Biden-Harris bumper sticker came this close to assassinating the Republican nominee for president, and the media is blaming Republicans for radicalizing him.
Let's stop this both sides stuff.
It's a bunch,
Because it's not correct. Right. It is not both sides. It is one clear side. And you can point to many, many reports. You can point to all kinds of stuff that's been reported. You guys have to pull it back. This is not us or them. This is you got to stop doing what you're.
This is crazy how the left side can really point at you and tell you, the conservative or the right side of the party, that it's your fault. And it's crazy that it works. Some people actually believe this. Insane. Like, we need to wake up.
We're doing.
We went from the country needs to tone down the rhetoric to just one side does. The side who someone's trying to kill. The victim needs to shut up and take it. CNN says Trump had it coming.
Donald Trump, as Essie said, and it's absolutely true, he created this specter of political violence that we all now live under, and he lives under it too. And so it is his rhetoric that has been, creating this environment for the last 8 years.
It's like saying it's your fault. Like, when you're a victim, I think this is what it's called, victim blaming. You're blaming the victim for this, that maybe Trump needs to tone it down. So like that, it won't happen to him again. That's insane. What time are we living in?
The New York Times says Trump seems to inspire people to make threats or take actions both for him and against him. Where have we heard this before? She made me hit her. I didn't want to hit her, but she made me do it. She just wouldn't stop talking. Or look at the way she was dressed. She was asking for it. Democrats aren't condemning political violence. They're justifying it. Just like they justified the Black Lives Matter riots. It's systemic racism's fault, and it's mostly peaceful. Don Lemon says if Trump doesn't want to get shot, he should just shut up.
So if Donald Trump wants Kamala Harris and others to stop saying that he is a threat to democracy, then he should stop threatening democracy.
I like what it says there. Musk was saying no one is trying to assassinate Biden or Kamala. I mean, nobody wakes up to that reality.
They're putting a gun to Trump's head and telling him to stop running. That's how they got rid of Biden. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. With Biden, they just threatened to nuke his presidential library and invoke the 25th. With Trump, they're saying assassins are going to keep showing up if you don't bend the knee. What they want Trump to do is stop telling the truth. Stop talking about illegal immigration. Stop saying you want peace in Ukraine. Stop fingering us for rigging debates. And stop telling jokes because people like you too much. And more than that, stop whining about almost getting shot. Biden makes up stories about getting shot. Trump gets shot, but he's not allowed to talk about it. The Atlantic says no other president has used an assassination attempt to inflame American politics the way Donald Trump has. Well, that's because JFK didn't survive. 2 crazy women tried to shoot Ford, and Reagan was shot by a lunatic trying to impress Jodie Foster. Neither men had been treated the way Trump's been treated. Blaming Democrats for Democrats shooting you isn't inflaming. It's called accountability, something Democrats aren't used to because the media doesn't do its job. Tens of millions of Americans fantasize about seeing Trump tortured, bankrupt, and humiliated. They have emotional issues and project them onto society. It's not our fault they need to get it together. Someone wrote a great book about that. Answer this question. Have the Democrats shown us that they don't want more bad things to happen to Trump? The left doesn't seem scared about what might happen to Trump. They're more scared of how Trump reacts to it.
You hear this fight, fight, fight chant, which you heard Trump do right after the shooting in Butler. We saw that once again on Truth Social. That does scare me a little bit.
Look at the woman talking. You're scared. The fact that the man got up and said to fight, 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 I see that as courage. That's bravery. I'm sorry, but that gave him props. A lot of men should be saying, yeah, that's the way to do it. That's the way to go. I wish I could. I wish I would. But for her to be saying that she's scared, what's happening? This is crazy.
They're not scared of Trump getting shot. They're scared of Trump getting back up and fighting. It scares them that no matter what they throw at him, and he keeps going. Even after assassins surround his rallies and his golf courses, he keeps going. Trump's not a danger to the country. They know that. He's a danger to them. He's a danger to their status, their control over you, and a threat to expose the dirty deeds they've done. The Trump agenda for working men and women threatens the entire Democrat coalition that's kept them competitive for decades. CNN's already been pulverized by America First. No ratings, no respect. ABC World News Tonight, after David Muir's biased moderation of the debate, has lost over 10% of its audience. The Biden family legacy has been obliterated after a single debate. The Clinton dynasty, that's in tatters. And Donald Trump didn't defeat his opposition with lies and lawfare or bullets. He won it fair and square. This is a fight for survival, and these people aren't going to stop.
I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. They should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump.
They keep saying Trump is dangerous, right? And the right side is dangerous. But I have no clue what the right side has done. Like the extreme right. When you say that, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like 100 years ago when slavery existed? Is that what you mean by the extreme right? Because today, 2024, I have no clue how dangerous the right is. I have no clue how dangerous Trump is. Like right now, everything we're seeing is from the left side. That put fears in me, and that's on the TV, and that's what's obvious. That here you go. You say something about the left, you might get fired. You lose your job. For Trump's situation, he ends up getting shot. So far, one attempt, and the other one hit him in the ear. That's crazy. So I have no clue what Hillary is talking about. And it's sad that some people believe her.
His demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
They aren't going to stop. And neither's he. And here's why.
You wonder why it gets shot at, right? Only consequential presidents get shot at. But what can you do? You have to do what you have to do, right? We have to be brave.
How brave can you be? This man is not giving up. He doesn't stop doing rallies. He doesn't stop coming up. He doesn't stop playing golf. That is bravery on another level that I think most men wish they had. I wish I could do what this man is doing. He is being told to get out, stop running. You might get shot, and he doesn't care. He still goes out there. That's crazy.
Donald Trump Jr. is the executive vice president of the Trump Organization. It's good to have you back on the show, Don. Good
to be with you, Jesse.
The climate. They say it's your dad's fault, and they want him to stop talking so much. Is he going to stop?
I really don't understand the political motivations of a guy that's a 19-time Democrat donor, a guy that has a Harris Biden bumper sticker on his car, a guy that's repeating the brainwashed pro-Ukraine quotes of the mainstream media every day, saying literally democracy is on the line. How many Democrats have been tweeting that one? Imagine this was a MAGA hat wearing Republican doing this to a Democrat that was, pro-Ukraine. They'd lose their minds, Jesse. It would be the only story. In fact, the same people that are gaslighting the American people and lying that they can't figure out the motivation of a clear radical Democrat radicalized by their sound bites, by their hatred, by their talking points, the same breath, they blame my father and J.D. Vance for a bunch of hoax bombs threats. They pretend they're not hoaxes. Dana Bash, you probably saw Sunday. I think JD handled her perfectly, but you saw that. Then it turns out from Governor DeWine, the governor of the state where this is going on, they're all hoaxes, and they happen to be called in from foreign adversaries. So foreign adversaries are literally capitalizing on the sound bites of the Democrats to try to sow discord, right? There's no retraction of that. There's no acknowledgement that they got it wrong. They will do whatever they can. These people are deranged, okay? It's all rhetoric, and they will do whatever they can to maintain power, Jesse. That's the problem.
How nervous are you about your father's safety? Because we just heard from the director of the Secret Service that Biden has now taken a keen interest in which assets your dad's security detail is allowed to have and not allowed to have.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad it only took 2 assassination attempts, Jesse. I mean, you'd think by now, I'm getting, frankly, I tweeted about it yesterday. I'm sort of sick and tired of having to have that conversation with my 5 young children about a deranged left is clearly motivated by the sound bites of the radical left and the mainstream media shooting at their grandfather. That happened at a golf course. My daughter Kai plays there with him every weekend. They're scared about it. I shouldn't have to have that conversation in America in 2024, in anywhere in the civilized world. No one should. But it's 100% from them. In fact, within 24 hours of the shooting, how many of these media correspondents and, again, Democrat propagandists were out there talking about the threat that my father continues to pose? I mean, Hillary Clinton said it herself. She said he's a unique threat to democracy, I guess. But you know what? After 9 years of calling him a Nazi and a fascist and a dictator and the Hitler and the greatest threat to democracy ever, what do you expect? You don't think?
I wonder, can this be fixed? Like, can the people be pushed back to normalcy, to the center, to thinking more rationally about anybody winning is not the end of democracy? It's just going to be another 4 years of things changing, but not the end of democracy. So can we get away from that fear? Can we get people to stop thinking like this? It's going to be crazy. When Trump wins, we're going to see, can he just fix things and straighten things out? Because him winning, there's going to be a bunch of boarded up stores on New York City and different blue states and blue cities that are just going to wow out because Trump wins. And that needs to be fixed. People got to get back to normalcy.
I think this is intentional. They know exactly what they are doing, Jesse. They are doing it on purpose, and it has to stop. But it's not going to stop if we allow the regime to win. You see what we're up against, and any American can look at America today and say, hey, was I better off under Trump or am I better off today? And it's a no-brainer. There's not a single economic metric. There's not a single geopolitical metric where the world is better off today under Democrat rule. I understand that they've tried to forget that Kamala Harris has a long history of being a politician. They're pretending that her record started about 3 weeks ago when she basically was part of a coup to throw out and displace the Democratic elected head of their party. Minor details, but she is a radical San Francisco liberal. She is the daughter of a Marxist professor. She's not going to turn into a moderate simply because the media will tell us, but they will tell us whatever we need to hear to get us to vote for her. And then they will do whatever they want. If she's going to change her stripes, that'd be like me becoming soft as the son of a Trump. It doesn't work that way, Jesse. That's not how these people function. We have to know better, and we can't fall for it.
Well, now they're telling your dad he's got to stop golfing. Maybe he should take up your hobby, hunting. You think they want him walking
Jesse,
around?
Honestly, I'm waiting for Merrick Garland to indict my father for being part of an assassination. That's what's next.
It's a conspiracy.
Nothing would surprise me at this point. Yeah, he's part of the conspiracy. He may be the intended target, but they're going to try to throw him in jail for that anyway because they can't stop him in any other ways. They tried to impeach him twice. They tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to throw him in jail. And they insinuated all of this rhetoric to get some of the most radical people of their party. Unfortunately, that's becoming a lot more people to go after and literally try to kill him. Enough is enough.
Like I said, man, how are we going to get back to normal? Because the strategy they're using are just insane. And at a certain point, we got to wake up and just realize that we need a grown man in the office. We need a man telling people to calm down. We got this. Now let's fix it.
America doesn't have to go down this route, but it's going to continue. You think if they're going to stop, if they stop Trump, you don't think that every person watching this right now is ultimately in their crosshairs, their freedoms, their liberties, all of the things that they love about their country, that's all on the table this election, Jesse. That's why it matters. We can't have apathy. We can't sit it out. We can't let the nonsense get in the way. We have to understand what the Democrats are doing because they're saying it out loud. They're not pretending anymore, Jesse. They're saying it out loud. When someone tells you who they are, listen.
Yep, we believe them now. Donald Trump Jr., good to have you back on the show. Good to see you again. Thank you. Up next, what did the feds know about Ryan Ruth before he tried to kill Trump? The more we learn about Ryan Ruth, the more suspicious we get. When he wasn't trying to build a mercenary army in Ukraine, Ruth tried to moonlight as an arms contractor, trying to strike deals for drones and other weapons. A source who met him in Ukraine tells Primetime that Ruth developed shady ties with the Ukrainian mafia and that he tried to get a group of Pakistanis fake passports so they could fight the Russians. He also says Ruth often talked about sneaking in black market weapons. The guy had a big mouth, left a troubling footprint wherever he went, a perfect mark for intelligence operations in the region. A former CIA officer working in Ukraine knew all about him. She warned the State Department about Ruth's erratic behavior. No one took any action. An American nurse named Chelsea Walsh also met Ruth in Ukraine. The Wall Street Journal writing, his threats of violence worried her so much that she conveyed her concerns to a Customs and Border Protection officer in an hour-long interview. Walsh told the officer during the interview, which took place after she returned to the United States, that Ruth was among the most dangerous Americans she met during her month-and-a-half-long stint in Ukraine. The Biden administration continued to let Ruth operate. She filed a second report about Ruth with both the FBI and Interpol a year later. Again, he was allowed to operate. When Ruth did finally return to the United States, he was interviewed by Customs, and we have a part of the Customs memo, courtesy of Just the News. Subject is a U.S. citizen who had traveled to Kyiv, Ukraine, for 3 months to help recruit soldiers from Afghanistan, Moldova, and Taiwan to fight in the Ukrainian war against Russia. Subject stated that he does not get paid for his recruiting efforts, and all his work for the Ukrainian government is strictly volunteer work. He speaks with soldiers from Afghanistan, Romania, Pakistan, Syria, and Israel. Customs found this suspicious and asked Homeland Security to do a follow-up. But Mayorkas never did and continued to let Ruth operate.
It feels like he's a CIA agent. Like, how in the hell are you affording or you're paying for all these trips? And then having the balls to speak to soldiers or recruiting soldiers to go to Afghanistan. I'm sorry, to go fight. This is insane. So definitely sounds like a CIA agent because somebody got to be funding this guy. Like, I know he didn't save all his life to not be doing this.
This guy was a fanatic. He claimed to work with black market gun runners. He traveled all over Eastern Europe and Turkey. He was talking to Afghans and Pakistanis. He was obsessed with Iran. He was on everyone's radar, CIA, state, Homeland Security. He was a convicted felon, and he was still allowed to operate. Chelsea Walsh is the nurse who flagged Ruth to the feds after meeting him in Ukraine, and she joins us now. Chelsea, what about Ruth struck you?
He had very bizarre and volatile tendencies. As a nurse, I'm a mandated reporter, and we are also trained to determine when someone is a threat to themselves or others. I determined after knowing Ryan for a while that he was a threat to others. So I felt that it was necessary that he be reported to the proper authorities.
And you reported this to the federal government. And what happened next?
I haven't heard anything. I have had no correspondence. Nobody had tried to connect with me until today.
Okay. Has someone from which agency specifically connected with you now?
A agency has connected with me. I don't want to say which one, but someone has connected with me.
Okay. In your conversations and observations of Ruth, what were the things that he was saying he was operating in?
Ryan got involved with the humanitarian side as well as the military side. He got involved with things that he shouldn't have been involved with. He was able to con members in the Ukrainian military. He was able to con charities. He was a good con artist. He was calculated, but he was also very volatile and sporadic. He got into just about everything: drones, weapons, humanitarian aid. He got involved in things he shouldn't have been involved with because he didn't have a background in any of this.
How was he able to con the Ukrainian military?
That you'll have to ask him.
Okay, I will. Great. And tell me about your meeting with him when you said you felt he was a danger. Did you feel like you were in danger?
Yes, it got to a point where I ended up leaving Ukraine early on my first visit there because of Ryan. And I felt that I was in danger after a conversation that I had with him that I don't really want to go into right now. But he was one of the reasons I left Ukraine, because I felt that I was in jeopardy by staying there and he was around.
Did he ever talk about assassinations?
All the time. He wanted to kill most world leaders. I don't remember. It's been over 2 years since I was with him, but I definitely remember he always talked about wanting to kill Putin, Kim Jong-un. He developed plans. He talked about Biden and Trump, but I can't remember. It's been over 2 years since I heard those conversations. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he
2 years, nothing. What the hell is she talking about?
did speak frequently about harming world leaders.
All right. Well, we're glad that you reported this, and we're glad finally there's been some follow-up. Chelsea, thank you so much. You're a very brave nurse.
Thank you very much.
When Ryan Ruth was in Ukraine, the media reported on him a lot. Ruth's done more interviews with American media outlets than Kamala Harris has. But now that he's been busted trying to kill Trump, the media is not so interested anymore. The guy was a Ukraine.
You know what I'm thinking also? I think the guy is like a planner. He comes up with idea. So maybe him going into the bushes and setting himself up, which was maybe a test run, to maybe talk somebody else into doing it. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as the Secret Service spotted him, he ran, got in his car, and tried to drive away. He didn't even try, you know? So I'm thinking he's a planner. So therefore, maybe training somebody else to do this.
Ukraine fanatic with a criminal record who hated Trump and loved talking about assassinations. But the media says his motive is unclear.
We obviously don't know very much at this point about a potential motive here.
The would-be assassin, they caught him. He appears to be a troubled individual. His political views are all over the place.
We have had people with clear mental illness. We don't know what their motive is, but we know that they have mental issues.
We do not know the shooter's motivation.
We have a long history of tweets. It doesn't tell us why he might have done this and what his motive.
58-year-olds, 100 plus past criminal charges. That's insane. Never, and still out walking the earth. Born in North Carolina, living in Hawaii. Like I said, man, this man is a planner. Able to do all of this and plan all this out. So maybe that's staking out the Trump golf course, what shows him planning to see how close he can get to the man. And maybe talk somebody else into doing it. Because once shots were fired, he just ran for his life. And almost got away with it.
May have been.
We don't even know the motivations of this would-be shooter. We know very little about him now.
Okay, so the media didn't read the book he wrote like we did, and they didn't read his tweets like we did. So what the hell are they talking about? This guy's a radical left-wing lunatic. The New York Times repeatedly called him a crusader. And the Dallas Morning News saying Ruth was driven by a sense of duty when he tried to kill the former president. Substack columnist Glenn Greenwald joins me now. What a massive cover-up, Glenn. What does that tell you?
It's amazing. This is a case where the media isn't just deceiving, they're blatantly lying. Just look at one tweet from 4 months ago, not 4 years ago, but 4 months ago, where he tweeted at President Biden, begging him to win the 2024 election on the grounds that only Joe Biden and the Democrats can save freedom and democracy, whereas Donald Trump wants to enslave Americans. And then he repeated the phrase that comes from every liberal pundit and every media employee in the corporate media in that wing of it, which is democracy is on the ballot. The other cause with which he was completely obsessed is the cause of the war in Ukraine and the obsession with believing that Vladimir Putin and Russia are the primary threat, this existential threat. He went to a war zone on his own, sought out weapons, extremely unstable behavior. This is one of the reasons why we should try not to involve ourselves in wars. Even professionalized soldiers come back, and we'll talk about the problems they have, let alone people just going on their own to Ukraine, which of course should make them watched. And this obsession with, I want to fight and die in Ukraine, I want to kill Vladimir Putin and destroy Russia. This is the kind of thing on which the media has been having people feed for 8 years now, that everything is about Russia and going to war with Russia. And you can see exactly what his ideology is and exactly what kind of media diet he's been feeding on from the things that he said so clearly.
So we know the CIA knew about him. They know every American that goes in and out of there. We know State Department was alerted to him. We know Customs knew about him. Now we got him. He was allowed to fly back and forth. He had no money. He's flying from Hawaii to Europe. That's thousands of dollars.
The guy got to be a CIA agent, because who is funding all of this? Crazy.
He's dealing with black market guns. He's dealing with the Ukrainian military. The potential that this guy had, that everybody else in the world saw, it was so dangerous. And the fact that they don't want to look into them now makes me really suspicious. Are you?
Oh, completely. It's not like he was hidden. Media outlets reported on him. He was meeting with Ukrainian officials, flying back to Washington, meeting with members of Congress, saying he wanted to illegally bring Afghan fighters from Iran to Ukraine. If that doesn't get you monitored and watched, what does? And if he tries to assassinate a former president, a leading presidential candidate, how can we not ask those questions about what connections did he make in Ukraine? What was his motive in relation to Ukraine? These are all really important questions that the media is steadfastly ignoring.
I mean, some 22-year-old volunteer in the Trump campaign had a coffee with a guy in Europe. It blew up the entire campaign and they wiretapped it. This guy's going all over Ukraine, talking to defense officials, black market gun runners, comes back with a pistol, loaded the bear on the president, and no one cares, Glenn. That's why I'm suspicious, and that's why every American should be. Thank you, as always, for joining Jesse Waters Primetime.
Thanks, Jesse.
That's crazy that they don't really put the scope on this guy. What are they doing? It's starting to feel like conspiracy theories coming out of left field, that maybe this guy was a plant. But in my opinion, I think he was just training to see if it was possible. Maybe try to get somebody else to do it. All right. And that's what's up about Trump. Let's move on to Puff Daddy. He's another one that they're trying to take down.
Fox News alert. Diddy was arrested on sex trafficking and racketeering charges, and the judge denied him bail. Tonight, Primetime's getting an inside look at what Diddy's being accused of. What we learned could bring the whole music industry down and might explain how Diddy got away with it for so long. The feds say Diddy created a criminal enterprise that engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. At the center of Diddy's criminal enterprise, drug-fueled sex parties. They're called freak-offs. Diddy lured women into his world and then manipulated them to participate in highly orchestrated sex acts with male prostitutes while Diddy watched and pleasured him.
That's crazy, because the only thing that I have about this is that these are adults. How these adults let themselves get talked into doing all of this. Like, really? Money does all of this, and fame? Like, these are not children. As an adult, you were supposed to walk away and say, no, I'm not doing this.
Himself. Diddy gave out drugs at the freak-offs to keep victims obedient and compliant. These freak-offs could last days. Victims were given IVs to replenish fluid and then keep going. Diddy was known for throwing star-studded parties, but we don't really know who came to the freak-offs. We do know if you didn't freak off with Diddy, there were consequences. Diddy would threaten to kill your career, or worse. If you didn't do what Diddy wanted, he got violent. punching, kicking, and dragging women by their hair.
Like, what took so long for all of this to come out? All those women, again, not children, grown women, should have been to get a book about this or a movie about this or just spoken to the media about this. Like, why are they waiting for the feds to now come down on Diddy? Also, they're saying that Diddy had all of this on tape, that he recorded everything. So, again, it's hard to say, but grown women, they are smart. They know they know better than this. And just holding up a career is crazy.
Diddy had complete control over his freak-off victims. He had control of their housing money. He even tracked their location. And Diddy filmed the freak-offs, so he had the video for blackmail. Diddy's freak-offs have been going on for 15 years. That's a lot of tapes. The feds have their hands on all of them. They raided 2 of his homes earlier this year and walked out with his computers. They also seized freak-off supplies, drugs, guns, and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lube. He also had 2 AR-15s stashed in his bedroom with the serial numbers scratched off. Today, Diddy pled not guilty and offered up $50 million for bail.
And I'm surprised they even went to court to plead not guilty. The man owns private jets. He could have went to another country where they don't extradite people back to America. Like, why is he so confident that he's going to beat this case? I would have got on a jet and just left. Like, really, America is that great that you wouldn't want to leave? Especially when you're a billionaire like Puff Daddy.
But the judge denied him. Diddy's staying in jail. The judge said he's concerned about Diddy's substance abuse and anger issues and said he was a flight risk. Diddy's lawyer says he's going to fight.
We're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he. And eventually he's going to be shown to be innocent. And so tomorrow we fight again until we don't have to fight anymore.
Diddy had a lot of pull in Hollywood and Washington. Remember, Diddy was a Democrat community organizer for years, running the vote or die movement. Diddy's freak-offs were an open secret for insiders. Everybody knew about him. Nobody tried to stop him. This is a lot bigger than Diddy. You can't get away with 15 years of freak-offs without a little help.
And that's another problem. What about all the people, the high-end people, the people with money that he could snitch on? Shouldn't they be worried that now Diddy's just going to pull out a list of everybody that was on the freak-off, all the high-end people, you know, all the other billionaires that were part of this? So he has a lot of chip on his hand. I hope he's not suicidal. Or I hope nothing happens to him in jail, like Epstein type of thing.
Did other music moguls get in on Diddy's action? Diddy's the one taking the hit, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. If Diddy flips, he could take the whole music industry down with him. Chris Hansen's the host of Takedown with Chris Hansen on True Blue, and Jaco Booyens is an anti-human trafficking advocate and founder of Jaco Booyens Ministries. Jaco, we'll start with you. You predicted this was going to go down this way. What do you think's next?
Yeah, Lady Justice needs to deliver, Jesse, and thank you for having me on. Those names of the record label executives now need to be mentioned. All have to come out. It's time.
Yeah, all the record label executives, they have to maybe make a phone call. They got to be talking to Diddy about keeping his mouth shut. But at the same time, is Diddy going to be doing a long time in jail? I don't know if he's going to keep his mouth shut. Like, who the hell wants to go to jail for a long time? That's insane. I mean, if I was Diddy, you guys better take me out of here, or there's going to be some consequences.
For justice. America needs justice when it comes to the exploitation of persons, when we know trafficking is rampant across the border, and these guys normally get away with it. It cannot just be Diddy. This has to be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
So they have the tapes, they have the financials, and they have plenty of victims ready to come forward. Do you expect the feds to go up the food?
All right, we're going to leave it there. At the end of the day, Puff Daddy, he just got to tell everybody, yo, you guys better get me out or I am snitching, exposing everybody. And all these grown adults, men and women, adults, like I said, they should know better. You know, like, your career is not the thing that makes you throw everything out the window. Like, I don't care, let's do the sex thing as long as my career takes off. That's a crazy, crazy situation to be in right there. But, hey, what do you think? Comment down below. My name is Noel, Bad in EMS. And this Puff Daddy situation, it's only going to get worse. The man should have got on a jet, flew to another country, and just stayed there. There's no reason to come back to America to go to jail for the rest of your life. Jail is not a pretty situation, man. It's ugly in there. But that's what I think. I've never been to jail. I'm scared of jail. So for Puff Daddy, a billionaire, like once you're a billionaire, you could buy an island and just live there. You know, like there's really no reason to come back to America. Like, what are we doing? And not only America, it's American jail. So a lot of high people are going to be coming out. So shout out to Tanisha Williams for sure, man. Puff Daddy, if I was him, it's like, yo, get me out or I'm snitching on everybody. I am not playing because jail is the worst case scenario, especially if you're doing years. But this is crazy. So 2 top stories. We got Trump assassinations. Hopefully they won't keep trying. You know, we need him taking over the office. And Puff Daddy, that's another story with human trafficking. And like I said, thank God it's not child trafficking, it's human. These are adults. These adults got to stand up for themselves and just not take part of any of that. You know, you go to a Puff Daddy party, you leave. Simple as that. These men and women that stuck around, you know, they are suspect. Like, what are you doing? You notice illegal things are happening, just get out. Otherwise, it's an ugly, ugly night, isn't it? What other things on the news? Trump went to another rally in New York this time, but there was a truck that had some explosive on it. So now that'll be the 3rd attempt. That's crazy. Another attempt on Trump. There's more news coming out of it. I'm going to try to get it and report it here on Verbal on Life. Here, just trying to keep you guys informed, letting you guys what's going on, more and more news. With that said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to find that news about Trump and explosive found at the rally, and I want to come back and let you guys know about it. Oh, it's fake news? I didn't know that they had explosive. I thought the one in Ohio was fake news. That the one in Ohio, there were 33 hoaxes. That it was phone calls from another country saying that there were explosives in the hospitals and schools and all over the place. 33 of them. And then they found out that it was all hoaxes. But the one in New York, Donald Trump, that one I'm going to find out to see if it's another hoax. But way too many hoaxes. We live in some crazy time. What can I tell you? With that said, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you got informed with everything that I put out there. See you in the next video. Peace.
Verbal on life.
Wait. How do I end this? All right. Shout out to Tanisha Williams. See you on the next video. All right. Take care.